which would be the speaker view. So I'll try to switch back and forth to see everyone. It's an opportunity for us to feel connected, though. So please do feel free, before we begin here, to peruse the screen. Wish one another Shabbat Shalom in the chat. If you place your mouser toward the bottom of the screen, your mouse toward the bottom of the screen, your pointer, you'll see the chat button, and you can wish one another Shabbat Shalom. We hope you'll do that. I thought that we could sang this last week as a way to set the right kind of tone for Shabbat, especially those of us who are normally this time of year out at camp, feeling the wind actually blowing through the trees, feeling Shabbat literally arrive into the space, on the wings of the Shekhinah, God's presence, as a Sabbath bride entering her wedding day. Shabbat arrives as if it were not even under our control. All we can do is float along with her. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. Ya la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la, ya la 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 la. A thought has blown the marketplace away. There is a song on the wind and joy in the trees. Shabbat arrives in the world, scattering a song in the silence of the night, and eternity utters a day. Eternity utters a day. La la la, ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la. One of the exercises that I introduced last week may be familiar to most of us from the sanctuary, but in this moment, as we are entering a different kind of space, it's a more powerful exercise in some ways. And while we do this, I'm going to try to get us started on Facebook Live so that we can welcome others. The exercise is actually fairly simple. It asks you to rewind the clock and to think as specifically as you can about the week that has passed. And even if all you are able to do is place yourself in one memory, something that you accomplished in the week that has passed, something that you are leaving unaccomplished, perhaps it is a great frustration, perhaps a serious point of progress for you, whatever it is, allow it to define this week that we are trying to leave behind. Allow it to then wash over you so that we might complete it. We might actually put it down as we enter Shabbat. This is the traditional sense of the phrase from Torah that on the seventh day God finished the work that God had been doing. We think of the work of creation taking 6 days, but in fact it was finished on the seventh. And on the seventh day, what was added was reflection and rest. So Shabbat takes an act of will. It takes intentionality for us to finish the work that we have left unfinished on our desk, in our families, in our minds, in our hearts. Whatever way you need to set something down. Hope that you'll do that through these moments of singing and song, that we might be able to enter Shabbat with the whole heart. I'd like to maybe sing one more song. Maybe we can do a simple one that I know many of us will know. We'll just sing Shabbat Shalom to each other. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom. Bim, bam, bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. Chiri, biri, biri, bim, bam. Bim, 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 bam. Bim, 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 bam. The traditional text asks us to welcome one another. That is the idea behind saying Shabbat Shalom. It is not only that we wish one another a Shabbat of peace, but as we all learn as children, this is our way of saying hello. Shabbat Shalom to you. I do hope that you'll take a moment to wish one another Shabbat Shalom this evening, whether you're sharing physical space or sharing the space of the chat room. One of the traditional songs from Kabbalat Shabbat, our beginning of Shabbat, says, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, pick up your instrument and offer what praise you might with that instrument. Whether it's a musical instrument or the instrument of your heart, the instrument of your voice, we hope that you'll join with us. Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai bechino, Zamru l'Adonai bechinor becho zimra. Tevel ve'yosh Shabbat Shalom to my clergy team and my staff joining us tonight, and Shabbat Shalom to all of you.
Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to be here together, and on this Shabbat to welcome a new member of our community, although her face is familiar because she's been joining us for a while since we've been on Zoom, and that's Stephanie Shapiro, who on my screen is right next to me here. I don't know about your screen, but on mine is right here. There is no relation. I am not related to Stephanie. We share the same wonderful last name. But we are delighted to have Stephanie now as part of our staff, as she is on the education team as our learning experience coordinator. Instead of taking the time now, I'd ask you to read in the IHC News about all that she will be doing with her work on the education team. But I just want to tell you a little bit about her. She just comes to us from Chicago, where she just finished her master's in special education from National Louis University. Before that, she was in this area called New Jersey, where she happened to know some other members of her staff, perhaps may have worked with Cantor Aviva and a time at that congregation. So we are delighted to have Stephanie here. She comes to us with a wealth of education and experience. And as you will see from her being, her soul just radiates. She was at Gucci last summer, so she knows many of our students already. She loves the area, and she is so excited to get to know our community. So please join me sending some warmth to Stephanie as she leads us in lighting our candles this evening.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I'm super excited to be joining the IHC community and get to know all of these faces that I've seen for multiple weeks now on Zoom, and to get to know you in person once we finally get back to the building, safely, of course. I want to give a Shabbat Shalom shout out to my dad, who I saw is also on Zoom. He's currently in New Jersey. So, hi, Dad. Other than that, I hope everyone has a lovely Shabbat, and I am going to light the candles. If my lighter will work. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. It is certainly my pleasure to be able to welcome Stephanie to our staff. It is always a pleasure to have you, Steph, and I'm sure as you get to know her, you will come to find out that she is a ray of sunshine and brings her goodness and positivity and wonderful attitude into every situation that she enters. So we are certainly blessed with having you on our staff. So thank you for being here. I invite you to toast to that sweetness with me. So I invite you to raise your Kiddush cup if you have got it with you as we offer Kiddush together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila l'mikra'ei kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta, Mikol ha'amim V'Shabbat kodecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat l'chaim. While I'm sure it will be mentioned later in the service in announcements, I do want to just take this opportunity to mention that Sisterhood has a program coming up that feels all too appropriate for me in this moment. I believe the title, I'm going to get this wrong, Rabbi Roxanne, but it is Superwoman Syndrome, maybe? Something like that. The idea is we are going to look at women working from home in the pandemic, trying to raise children, and how we're doing it. So please do make sure to look for that program. Speaking of which, it was my goal this evening to be leading with my family. Part of my family is here. Benjamin, if you'd like to join us, now would be the time. I invite you to please raise your voices in prayer with us. Lechu neranena, ya la 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 la, la Adonai, ya la 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 la, Nahariya, ya la 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 la, Letzor Yishenu, ya la 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 la. Let us sing unto God, maker of all, pure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. Lechu neranena, ya la 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 la, la Adonai, ya la 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 la, Nahariya, ya la 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 la, Letzor Yishenu, ya la 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 la. In the summer, we often find ourselves with a moment to pause. We find ourselves exhaling for the first time in a long time. We come out of the craziness of the year, perhaps the calendar year, the fiscal year, the work year, and many of us exhale for the first time. I know that this has been a long period in quarantine, and perhaps we have made the time to exhale. But one of the things that I love about our tradition is that we are forced to take this time once a week. Commanded is a better word than forced. That we are invited to selfishly take a moment to exhale. And that is exactly what we do as we chant the Shema together. I'd like to invite you to either close your eyes or keep them open. I'd like to invite you to do whichever one is not what you usually do, just for an opportunity to try something a little bit different. Please join me. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Shem kevod malchuto, leolam va'ed. Teach them faithfully unto your children. The text of the Ve'ahavta once again reminds us the importance of teaching the next generation the most important laws and rules, and to love Adonai our God with all your heart. So in this moment, I thought we would make use of our chat feature and create an opportunity for us to come together as a community. I'd like to invite you to share with us what is perhaps the most important thing you learned from your parents, your ancestors, perhaps aunts and uncles, for everyone who played that role in your life. What do you think the most important thing was that was passed on to you? If you feel comfortable doing so, I invite you to share now. I will read some of them aloud because I do know that some of us are connecting on the phone and perhaps can't see the chat so easily. But so far we have said, if there's something worth doing, it's worth doing right. Humility and responsibility. Every person is important and has value. The importance of education, the importance of giving. The golden rule. Be proud of who you are and respect differences. Respect and family is always number one. Charity, be open-minded and kind-hearted. Judaism, the importance of being there for the people you love. Treat everyone with respect. To be kind to others and good. And of course, a good recipe for matzo ball soup. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
The cure for all things that ail us. Matzo ball soup or our parents, not sure, one or the other. Being surrounded by family, I think that's the trick to matzo ball soup as well. We imagine ourselves moving along this journey of the service and now find ourselves at the precipice, looking out over the sea, taking the first steps into knowledge of ourselves, into the open sands of the desert and freedom. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. Yisrael, the people who struggle with God, shall for centuries past and centuries future, shall guard and observe, protect and cherish this idea of Shabbat. The idea, simply put, that we have value, whether or not we are creating, manipulating our world, actively contributing, just by being who we are. We have value. That is the value of the seventh day. That is the message of Shabbat. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat. It is our gift to the world, this idea of the Sabbath. Shameru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asod et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Taking this moment of Shabbat deep into our hearts, I invite you to pause for a moment of silent reflection and prayer. עושה שלום למרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
Our thoughts turn to our loved ones, our friends, and our neighbors who are in need of healing. And whether that be healing of body, healing of mind, healing of spirit, we take this time to write their name either in the chat or have some names to mention in just a moment, so that we can combine together the strength of our words as we come together in this worship time. We can combine those words, and so in a sense, we can lift our voices higher together as we pray for healing, for comfort, and for strength. Our prayers for healing for Cliff Chapman, Paul Marquardt, Kevin Lawrence, and also just a moment as I go to the top of the list. Nancy Cushman, Camilla McCaleb, Sherry, Harold, and Erica Renfro, CJ McConaughey, Andy Weidenkamp, Betsy Nash, Harvey Katz, Dennis Gilbart, Jean Lee, Javi Lev Goldstein, Michael Barado, Barbara Shapiro, Jay Rahim, Dallas, Yuri Schnitke, Janet Strasberg, Jeff Golden, Al Gross, Larry Graves, Ken Meinert, Ruth Weisberg, Doug Rosalie Simon, Larry Weisberg, Nancy Bonham, all of those individuals and so many who are in our hearts and on our minds. We are praying for their comfort, for their healing, and for strength for all those who love them as we join together to sing Mishaberach.
Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Please join us. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, will reap in joy.
So this Shabbat, we set out, as we may have seen in our Facebook, to just come as you are for this casual gathering in the midst of the summer and the heat. So we thought tonight, instead of a sermon, we would share a story with you. And I thought this story, if I gave you the title, it would give away the plot, so I can't do that yet. But I thought this story could speak to us about our responsibility in the world. Many years ago, there was a nobleman, and the nobleman was nearing the end of his days and thought about what his legacy would be for his town. And he considered that he wanted to leave something for his community and didn't know what that could be. So he thought of all these different possibilities where he could create something that had lasting meaning, that would be a benefit to everyone in times of joy and even in times of sorrow. So he considered many options and ultimately decided on building a synagogue, but not just any synagogue. He wanted this one to definitely be a house of prayer, a house of study, and a house of meeting or gathering for the entire community. But knowing how everyone would have different opinions about what it should look like and what should be in it, he decided to keep the whole thing a secret and didn't tell anyone about what he was building. So he built just on the outskirts of town where no one tended to travel through. And there he built a beautiful synagogue with bells and whistles for everyone. He spared no expense and overlooked not a single detail. And finally, when it was completed, he invited everyone to come and see in the early morning. So early morning, people woke up and came to the synagogue. And what they found was the most beautiful synagogue they could ever imagine. There was this beautiful sanctuary filled with natural woods and beautiful big windows where you could see the trees through the windows, and the most comfortable seats you could ever imagine in a sanctuary seating. There were amazing classrooms that were the perfect size and tailored for learning. And there was a social hall and a meeting room and recreational spaces, both indoors and out. Everything was more than anyone could imagine. And as the day continued on, the villagers explored every nook and cranny of the synagogue, and then finally gathered together in the synagogue. And before they knew it, the sun was setting down through the windows of the sanctuary. One villager jumped up and said, "I'll get the lights, it's getting dark." And he went over to the wall and couldn't find a switch. So he said, "Where are the lights?" And everyone started looking around. There was no switch on the wall, no fixtures from the ceiling or the walls, not even the box where the fixtures would be, because maybe the synagogue wasn't finished yet. They looked around and said, "Where are the lights?" The nobleman looked at them and said, "Lights?" and just laughed a little. Then he pointed out the hooks along the wall of the sanctuary and down the halls and in the classrooms. And he said, "Look under your seats." And everybody went to look under their seats. And there they found a lantern. And the nobleman continued on telling everyone, "This is your lantern. Each time you come to the synagogue, to one of the classrooms, to one of the meeting rooms, or to the sanctuary, you will light your light, and that will illuminate the congregation. When everyone is here, the congregation will be full of light. There is no need for artificial light. But when you're not here, the unlit lanterns will remind us that some parts of our building are dark because some of the bearers of light could not be there. And while there should always be enough light to see, it's never as bright as if we are all present." The nobleman continued, "I have built this structure for you, but you are the ones who will bring the light." And so all of the villagers embraced their roles as essential parts of the community. They knew that they mattered and that their presence mattered. And the amazing part of this tale, as the story is written, is that the synagogue was never completely dark, because each person knew the importance of bringing their light. So what we learn from this story, my message and moral to us all, is that we each bring our own light into the congregation. Sometimes that light is bright, and sometimes it's dim and needs the light of others to help brighten it. But the bearer of the light, each one of us, is still essential to bring that metaphoric light to the congregation. Whether we are in person or even gathering remotely, coming together through Zoom or other venues, we each add the beauty and light to our congregation. Each one of us. And without each of our lights, the congregation is not as bright. Each of you matter. Each of you bring a light to this congregation. Shabbat Shalom. And one of those bearers of light is our own Sarah Freeman, who will be giving us some words of welcome and announcements this evening. We're not in morning, this evening.
It's morning somewhere.
It
right?
is somewhere, yes.
Thanks, Rabbi Roxanne, for welcoming me this evening. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. You know, tonight's service was beautiful, and as always, it's exactly what I need. It's like y'all read my mind or something. But that's what I really love about IHC. There's always something going on, and it's always something that is meaningful. So I just, to that end, wanted to share a couple of items with you guys from some recent emails that you've received. I want to make sure that you see these particular items. The first one is our upcoming listening campaign. We want to hear from all of you on a wide range of topics. Israel, lifelong learning, worship and ritual, cultural arts are just a few of the topics that we want to hear from all of you on. So check that weekly update that is hopefully in your inbox, but it could have made its way to your spam folder, so check there too. And you can sign up for one of the listening sessions on a topic and at a time that appeals to you. We've got options during the daytime and in the evenings. Most every day of the week. So I hope to see or hear all of you at least one of the listening sessions coming up. The other item is also highlighted in our weekly update. Our Brit Olam team has posted an announcement about one of our 2 critical objectives for 2020, which is no excuse absentee voting in the general election this November. So if you're not familiar with Brit Olam, we're a little affiliate nestled within the Social Justice Committee. And Berit Olam translates into English as a covenant with the world. And it comes to us from the teaching in Pirkei Avot that says, study alone is not enough. Our tradition demands action. And since I've gone ahead and mentioned Berit Olam and the Social Justice Committee, I'll say that we'd love to have you join either of those committees. And if neither of those floats your boat, check out the website because there are a lot of other committees you can join. I'm on a lot of them. So, I mean, that can be a plus or a negative depending on how you feel. But I'm also participating in both of the engagement opportunities that I mentioned earlier. And I would love to see all of your faces on our Zoom listening sessions and then participating in the Brit Olam initiatives. But in the meantime, wear your masks, wash your hands, practice social distancing, and Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much to Sarah and all the others who share their light with us. And just as a reminder, all of these ways of listening, of you sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions are ways that you share your light with us. And we need to hear that so that we can increase that light. So we turn now thinking about those loved ones who have been lights in our eyes and our lives that are no longer with us. They are lights for us because sometimes even in the darkest of times, we turn and think of them and their memory. And as painful as the loss is, just holding their memory close adds a bit of strength to our hearts. And sometimes they are our guides, just as Cantor Aviva asked us to share some of the things that our parents and grandparents taught us. Sometimes even if they are not with us, it's their message that continues to be a guiding light for us. So we remember them at this time, and you may add names in the chat. For the period of Shiva, we are remembering Ray Slabby, the husband of Darlene Slabby. And in the period of Shloshim, we are remembering Eileen Goldberg, the mother of Wendy Anderson, and June Herman, the father of Tom and Janie Herman, and their family and friends. We are observing the yard sites, remembering these individuals on the anniversary of their passing: Leslie Baker, Abe Bartik, Shoshana Bronicky, William Kaplan, Shirley Cohen, Patsy Cohen, Marjorie Cohn, Selma Cowan, Hannah D., Jonathan Dworkin, Meyer Ephraimson, Judith Feldman, Carol Finn, Beatrice Fisher, Frederick Fogel, Benjamin Gerlich, Edith Gold Garfield, Mary Harrington, Clara Joseph, Leo Lisker, Mortimer Mann, Deborah Maudlin, Thelma Medias, Dorothy Michaels, Marvin Nickbarg, Leopold Osterreicher, Jerry Paskoff, Sophia Pasikman, Samuel Richmond, Spencer Risingmore, Bessie Robbins, Jorge Roman Lagunas, Arthur Rose, Kathy Rothholtz, Shirley Schachter, Esther Schwartz, Morris Silver, Michael Waldman, William Wechter, Maurice Weisberger, Stephen Wynn. And if you hold on just a moment as I make sure I have other names. Eleanor Morris, Margaret Marconi in the first year of mourning, David Bornstein, who passed away this Monday, who was a brilliant Taos artist from Mexico, Dave H. Glazer, Kurt Bennett, Sunshine Bennett. These individuals and all of the lights of our lives are the ones who we recall fondly as we praise God for their role in our lives as we join together with the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'alma divrach yortei v'almich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru, Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam omei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitraman v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha b'rechu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, Da'amiran v'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. And we add our collective wish for peace for all those who dwell on this earth. And we say, Yal Kol Yoshvei Tevel, for all who dwell on the earth. May their memories all be for a blessing, and may they continue to be a light in our lives.
Amen. Thank you to my clergy partners. Thank you, Sarah Freeman. Thank you and welcome, Stephanie Shapiro. We would like to close this evening with two simple words, Shabbat Shalom. We know you know this one, so please join us. Ready? Shabbat Shalom, 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 Shabbat Shalom. And if you have a challah with you, we would very much love to make motzi with you. As Rabbi Brett says, this is often our opportunity to also bless our children, who, as much as we have been putting up with it as parents at home, they have been putting up with a great deal also. So our kids are resilient, wonderful little human beings, and we are very blessed. So We offer them this blessing, and we offer a motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, and thank you for joining us. We will, as is our tradition, unmute everyone so you can wish one another a Shabbat shalom. Know that we miss you, and as Rabbi Roxanne's story taught, we are all here for one another, and we all matter. Shabbat shalom.
Thank you also to Matt Hastings for being my backup house manager.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Shalom.
shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Everybody.
Shabbat shalom.
Get healthy, everybody.
Shalom, Vicky. Shabbat shalom, Jennifer.
Shabbat shalom, Chet.
Shabbat shalom.
Joanne, you got
Shabbat
my
shalom, Matthew.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Hello, Catherine Soskin. Shabbat shalom to you.
Life is
Yeah,
fleshly
hello.
before my
Shabbat
eyes.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Hi, Vicky.
Lynn Giles, hi. Shabbat
Shabbat shalom, Benjamin.
Say Shabbat shalom.
Hi, Carol.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, everybody.
Hello, Amelia. Hello. Shabbat shalom.
Yeah, that's very kind of people. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
I love to be out.
There's no topping that.
Perfect.
That's perfect. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.